Welcome everyone to this very special episode of Coast to Coast Wrestling here on Greg Cherry's YouTube channel, for one thing. The home of Luck of the Draw, the home of the Penn Sin himself, Greg Cherry, who is standing opposite from me in internet land right now. Greg, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. And representing the East Coast, I am the Pennsylvania sensation, Greg Cherry, for this second edition of Coast to Coast. Also appearing, where else, on the NoDQ.com channel.
Well, let's hope.
Yeah, we can only hope.
We will broadcast with that intention, but you never know with Master Ref. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank everybody who watched the show, who commented on the show. I mean, that was awesome that many came out to watch the debut episode, so thank you for that.
It was very cool to see the turnout. We got lucky because, you know, when you were on my channel back in 2013, it got very limited views because I wasn't a established channel yet. I wasn't really into the groove of my own station yet. And for Aaron to pick up our show Coast to Coast and take it across the world with all his subscribers was very awesome of him. And I thought the turnout was just tremendous.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for all for watching. Hopefully this video quality is a little better than the last one. I mean,
let's hope so, right?
Yeah, last time was our first one, and yeah, we're two broke white kids, so yeah.
Yeah, we'd be broke white boys trying to get along in the world. So, but this Coast to Coast, we were just going to do it once every quarter, but there has been some serious shenanigans afoot in the world of wrestling the last 3 or 4 weeks that really behooved us to do a show now, and we will get to those momentarily. But I have to start with 2 topics that are near and dear to my heart as I get close to the camera. The first one, of course, happened as I taped this. We taped this just now this morning, the passing of Nick Bockwinkel. And for me, I didn't really get to know of Nick Bockwinkel as a wrestler until later watching on tape, because I started watching in 1990 when AWA was already in its dying days, and I didn't get to see the greatness of Nick Bockwinkel until later. And he was, of course, the commissioner of WCW for a while, and he was great in that role. But Nick Bockwinkel is arguably the blueprint, along with people like Superstar Billy Graham, for the heel World Championship run.
Absolutely. And you know what? I, much like you, remember Nick Bockwinkel from his WCW days. Luckily, whenever ESPN Classic picked up the AWA, I mean, that was great to watch all the stuff they did there as well. And I absolutely agree. One of the top heels back in the day. Very underrated. I know he's in the Hall of Fame, but very underrated. You know, Nick Bockwinkel was absolutely one of the greatest of all time.
Definitely one of the best orators in the history of the business, babyface or heel. He's primarily a heel, let's be honest, but predominantly above my wits, predominantly above my this. You know, everything was a big word for Nick Bockwinkel. He was a joy to watch, and it was a pleasure to watch some of his stuff later, thanks to the network now, thanks to things like that. You know, we get to see more of Nick Bockwinkel, but you know, even in the bit role of commissioner of WCW, he was commissioner at a time where Hulk Hogan had come in and WCW was really starting to cook. So it was good to see him in a huge role during that time period.
You know, bringing up Nick Bockwinkel's oratory skills, it makes you think, you know, was that kind of the inspiration of Chris Jericho's character circa 2008 to 2010, where he was using all the big words as well? I wonder if there was a little Bockwinkel in there.
Jericho has stated more than once that Nick Bockwinkel was a huge inspiration to that character when he turned heel on Shawn Michaels and threw him through the Geritron 5000, really started wearing the suits and became world champion in 2009 or 2008 rather at the Unforgiven show. He really patted himself after the Nick Bockwinkel character, and if only he had a Bobby Heenan. But you know what? Jericho needed Bobby Heenan. Really needed a Nick.
Absolutely.
So the other thing this last weekend, actually on Friday, was, I can't believe I'm saying this, but 10 years since the passing of Eddie Guerrero. And they're very, as a result of the various head trauma I've had and accidents and things I've had over the years, it's very rare for me to remember most days so vividly. But I will never, ever forget waking up that morning 10 years ago and going to WWE.com as I did every morning when I was living with wherever I was living. At the time I was living with Jade. And seeing that news report on WWE.com, thinking it was some sort of storyline or rib or something, and then delving further into the story and discovering that wasn't the case, and having to wake up my significant other and tell her that her favorite wrestler had passed away was something I will never forget. It was very, very devastating, and still is to this day.
Yeah, I remember I was actually starting my freshman year of college, and was getting ready for the TNA pay-per-view that was actually happening that night, back when TNA was, good. And
yeah.
And watching that, and then watching the news clips of Vince and Chavo just completely in shock of what happened. I mean, Chavo, obviously his uncle, and being there to see that happen, I can't imagine even going through anything like that. And I mean, Eddie Guerrero inspired so many people, and it's gonna be weird to say it this way because he just turned face too. Is like if he passed away as a heel, I don't want to say that his impact wouldn't have been as much, but being that he turned babyface and everybody was starting to love Eddie again, it was that shock. And
right.
I mean, people still remember Eddie to this day. I mean, just look at I believe it was either Night of Champions or the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, where the New Day pulled the old Eddie Guerrero, use a weapon, throw it to the other guy, and fall down spot.
Yep, totally like cheat and steal. Yep.
Yes, and the crowd chanted Eddie, Eddie, and it was just awesome because everybody associates that kind of stuff with Eddie Guerrero. And I mean, everybody looks at the light, cheat, and steal stuff, but they don't remember how awesome he was in ECW, in WCW. I mean, he was just amazing his entire career.
Absolutely. And I've been watching. I tried to finish it Friday, but time and sleep caught up with me Friday night. So I'm just now finishing Cheating, Death, Stealing, Life, the DVD. Now I'm getting into Viva La Raza, the Legacy of Eddie Guerrero, tonight after the football game probably. And just seeing how many lives Eddie touched, and how many great matches he had with really everybody. I mean, on the first DVD, you've got matches with Jericho, Mysterio, Benoit, Rhino, Los Guerreros as a team, Angle and Benoit as a team together, Edge and Mysterio together as a team, Edge and Eddie Guerrero, their feud in 2002. If he had a bad match, they made sure not to pick it on any of the DVDs they put out about him because he was just unbelievable in the ring.
Yeah, I think it'd be tougher to put together a 3-disc DVD of bad Eddie Guerrero matches because
most definitely.
Yeah, because I mean, you could fill not only just 3 DVDs, you could probably fill 30 DVDs with awesome Eddie Guerrero matches, and you would still have some left out. I mean, that's how good he was.
It could be 30 matches with the same guy and not be the same match twice.
Exactly. I mean, look at his match with Edge back in 2002, the no disqualification match.
Yes.
I don't want to say this is the match that made Eddie, but realistically, when you look back at it, that's what really made Eddie Guerrero a main event level player in the WWE. I think before that, they didn't see it, but watching that match with Edge was just unforgettable. Awesome.
If it didn't make Eddie, it damn sure made Edge as a singles guy.
It made them both. That match probably made both of them.
Yeah, and Edge, was coming off, the run, another tag team run with, going into a tag team run with Mysterio and coming off, a feud with Kurt Angle earlier in the year, which really made him as a single star, let's be honest. But that whole feud with his whole year 2002 with Edge was unbelievable. It's a shame it got cut short by being hurt the following February, but, we all saw how Edge did after he came back. So, But Eddie, for me, Eddie was the first wrestling death that really – it's rough to say this because it did shake me to my core. Owen Hart's did as well, but I was also, younger and stupider in 1999 than I was in 2005. Eddie's death for me in 2005 just completely floored me and everybody around me. So much so that when I was starting to move my way into moving in with JJ and them in Long Beach 5 years ago, we had a 5-year remembrance of Eddie Guerrero that weekend. That whole weekend was Eddie Guerrero. The entire weekend we watched DVDs, we watched all kinds of different matches. We had a backyard wrestling event for his company that JJ founded. Thanks for the memories, and usually that was to thank everybody that was involved with the company, but it was also a remembrance of Eddie Guerrero too because it's been 5 years. So it just it's just hard, and it's been 10 years, and it doesn't get any easier to look back and think that he's gone.
No, and you know, I still catch myself every once in a while when something good happens to me. I always like bust out the little Eddie Guerrero shimmy.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I can't help it. I mean, Eddie Guerrero was just so fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll get up here watching something on wrestling, and I'll get up and I just like I'll start just doing this across the living room. Mom will go, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "Sorry." It happened. All right. Now we got to get to the news, which has shocked everybody. And I'm going to talk about Ronda Rousey's defeat last night.
Yeah, I watched that, and I mean, wrestling's funny. I mean, the internet wrestling community is hilarious because as soon as that happened, everybody started jumping to the Ronda Rousey's going to WWE thing, like they did when this Lesnar loss to I want to say Overeem.
Yeah, Overeem. Yeah, it's just so. I was watching it, and my jaw nearly hit this TV tray. I could not believe that Holly Holm had just kicked Ronda upside the head and then punched her to defeat. I was just flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it.
The streak is over.
The streak is over. Another streak loss. Mikey actually texted because he was working and he didn't see the fight. He goes, "Was the crowd Undertaker silent?" I'm like, "No, it wasn't that silent. That silence was deafening." Back WrestleMania 30. That was, and we'll get to Undertaker later because we're talking about Undertaker today. But the first thing we want to talk about as far as the news stuff is the unbelievable thing that happened in Dublin about a week and a half ago, and that was Seth Rollins injuring his ACL, MCL, and medial meniscus, and he's out up to 9 months.
And I mean, those kind of injuries are something that you can't mess with. I mean.
No, I mean, the video surfaced very quickly on YouTube, and then WWE actually picked it up themselves, and just, it was unbelievable how graphic that landing was for him, and how just his knee and leg were just going, I mean, it wasn't Sid bad, but it was still very, very bad. You could tell that something was wrong, and he somehow finished the powerbomb, finished the match, and got to the back, and he knew, and we all knew as soon as the video surfaced that, he's done for a while. And then it came out 6 to 9 months, new champion to be crowned Survivor Series, which we'll talk about in a minute. But what do you think, Greg, because people have asked me on Twitter, I'll ask you first, what do you think is going to be the impact on Seth Rollins' career for basically this next year?
You know, I actually think it's kind of ironic what happened to Seth Rollins. And think about this. Think about how Triple H is trying to make Seth Rollins into the next game.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to Triple H before he came back in 2002? He suffered a serious leg injury.
Yes.
And he was out for about the same amount of time that Rollins is going to be out. Now, unfortunately, Rollins probably won't be back for the Royal Rumble to win it, but the impact will probably be similar in that Seth Rollins will come back, make a giant impact upon returning, and be back to being one of the main event players.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You mentioned Triple H. You know, this is very, very reminiscent of other injuries that people. I mean, Triple H out for 8 months, Edge out for over a year with a neck injury, Austin out for over a year with a neck injury. After being hurt 3 years prior, he still had to have surgery and take time off. You know, Lita with her neck injury. So many people have been out for upwards to a year and then come back and then had career-defining moments after they were supposedly done for good. I mean, Austin with his unbelievable run in 2000, 2001, you know, Triple H with his unbelievable run from 2002 on.
Shawn Michaels breaking his back and running for 8 years after he came back.
I always let you have that one, that's your boy.
Absolutely.
Yes, Shawn Michaels, I mean, they said he was done twice, and he still came back both times and still was the showstopper for almost a decade after the fact. So, you know, Seth Rollins, I think, will come back. You know, they can rebuild him. They have the technology. So, you know, it's just going to be, and will he come back as a babyface or a heel? I got to believe that with people reacting the way they're reacting on social media, that he's going to come back as this uber babyface, and then he'll either embrace it like Triple H did, or he'll totally, you know what, I didn't need you then, I don't need you now, and just shut him down. But I think I'm going to lean toward the former, that he will embrace the love that he's going to get from the fans, because regardless of what because we constantly in this house, my dad and I rag Seth Rollins each and every week for his 20-minute long-winded promos. But the end of the day, the guy can get it done in the ring.
Absolutely. And you know what? I mean, promo scripting is a completely another episode that we can go on probably hours about.
Yes.
But, Seth Rollins is absolutely fantastic in the ring. I mean, he's had probably half a dozen match of the year candidates alone this year.
Yeah, I think it's been half the women of NXT, half Seth Rollins for match of the year this year.
Yeah, go figure.
So there you go. But he'll be back, and he will be back strong. And I mean, he did about as much damage to one person's knee as you could. So he can only come back stronger.
Yeah, we can only hope. I mean, Seth Rollins, from his time with the Shield. And, I've been following Seth Rollins when he was Tyler Black because he has one of my absolute favorite finishers ever.
Yes, the curb stomp, yes.
No, not the curb stomp. Have you ever seen the God's Last Gift, the small package driver?
Yes, back at PWG, you're right. I forgot about that. Yep.
Yes, that is one of my favorite finishers ever.
Yes.
But yes, the curb stomp as well. And, just watching him from the Indies to the WWE and seeing just how incredible he is, it's like he's going to be missed for this period of time.
It's like, who thought back in 2012 when they debuted Survivor Series that he'd be the breakout of the three of them? I did.
Yeah.
But, that's because I'd seen him perform more than I had Roman or Dean.
Right. And everybody thought it was going to be Dean Ambrose also.
Yeah,
nobody really thought Roman Reigns because Roman Reigns was kind of unknown as far as the three of them went.
Right. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully he can come back from this, and hopefully there'll be a newfound people. The fans tend to respect him even though they rag on him when he's in the arena. But hopefully there'll be an even further respect once he returns from this stronger and better than ever.
Absolutely.
But with a champion going down in injury, as is said in entertainment and in sports, the show must go on. And coming up next Sunday, we have will probably be the semifinals and the finals of the WWE Championship Tournament that started last week, a week and a half ago on Raw. So I wanted to just kind of go over the first round of the tournament and kind of see where everybody's laying right now and see what's going on right now and where we're going to be going forward tomorrow night on Raw and beyond. Because I guess they're going to have 4 quarterfinal matches tomorrow night to lead us into Survivor Series on Sunday.
Yeah, and, part of me thinks that WWE had a golden opportunity in its hands to recreate the Deadly Games tournament.
Or the WrestleMania 4 tournament. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, which they should have done. And here's why. I mean, it's like they have a hard enough time booking the show as is. Why not just throw the entire tournament on the show, do the thing with the Wyatts and the Brothers of Destruction? That's your card. That's all you need.
Because figure you've got 8 first-round matches, 4 quarterfinals, 2 semifinals, and a final.
Unless
there's buys, right, but there haven't been so far. And, then you got the Undertaker and the Kane against the Wyatts, and you probably have a tag title match in there just for S's and giggles. So figure you've got 15 matches right there in a 3-hour card. That's 5 matches an hour. You can go more than 3 hours. You have your own network.
Yeah, you have your own network. You could start at 7 o'clock, make this like a SummerSlam or WrestleMania type show. It's like, ooh, look at this, a giant tournament. Ooh, new champion. Hey, come over here. Spend $9.99.
Exactly. Spend the money. Watch this for free with your free subscription for a month.
See, that would actually draw me in more. I would love to watch an entire tournament unfold in one night because it's so unpredictable.
I actually watched I've been watching the Attitude Era Raws and pay-per-views leading up to, because I'm finding that up until next year in February, the Attitude Era Raw dates are falling on the same day as the current year. So, like, for example, tonight I'm going to watch the Deadly Games tournament.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it was on November 15th, 1998. And I'm going to watch it all in one night. It's going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So, but for me, yeah, I agree with some of the booking in the first round. Some of it I kind of shake my head and go, actually, most of it I do agree with. Most of it I kind of agree with, but there's the couple matches I kind of go, maybe not best for business if I want to quote Triple H in the long run. Roman Reigns beating Big Show is a no-brainer. Roman's going to be in the finals, I think. I think it's going to be a given, but we'll get there. Cesaro over Sheamus is also, I think, a given. It's interesting they're going to have a babyface match between Roman Reigns and Cesaro in the second round. However, Cesaro can play both sides, so it doesn't really matter there.
Right.
Alberto wins his first round match. No surprise. He's coming off a huge comeback. He's the Mexican America champion. So, him winning is no big surprise. The one that did surprise me on that side of the bracket was Kalisto over Ryback. That, I was watching SmackDown going, I couldn't believe it.
You have to have an upset somewhere in the tournament. I mean, you look at like March Madness and stuff like that. No, you don't have the top seeds winning all the time. I mean, something has to happen to the point where there's some surprises. I mean, we don't know. Kalisto might actually upset Alberto Del Rio as well.
Well, but then he'll have to get through the Roman or Cesaro, so he's dead meat no matter what.
Yeah, but it's that underdog factor.
True, but you know what? They even mentioned this in the WWE.com preview for tomorrow night's Raw that, Alberto's long history with WWE's ultimate underdog Rey Mysterio, so Kalisto might channel Rey Mysterio. It's like, guys, nobody dislikes Rey Mysterio's push more than me, but Kalisto is not Rey Mysterio Jr. I'm sorry, he's just not.
Well, also think about this, and this is diving back 15 years in the history of tournaments. 2000 King of the Ring, Crash Holly was actually in the semifinals, so.
That's right, he was. I forgot about that.
I mean, stranger things have happened. I mean, I don't see the match I'm really interested to see in the second round is Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler.
That'll be good because Dolph came off a big win over The Miz, and Dean Ambrose, and people called it a surprise because he was scheduled to face Dolph. The winner was defeated Tyler Breeze. We figured right away it'd be Breeze and Dolph in the second round to keep their feud.
I kind of figure though that Tyler Breeze is going to cost Dolph Ziggler just because of their feud that's been going on.
Right.
Perhaps leading to a match of Survivor Series.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't want to get into my predictions yet, but I kind of hope that's what happens for that particular match.
Okay. Well, and then you've got, Neville over King Barrett for the millionth time since June. Like, what? Both Barrett and Sheamus lost in the first round.
Sheamus, I don't have a problem with. And I'll explain that. No, I actually don't have a problem with that booking, and I'll explain that later. King Barrett, for the love of God.
Yeah, he's the king of the freaking ring.
I mean, how much do they have to bear? Okay, let's go back through, like, King of the Rings after they stopped doing the annual tournament, which is after Lesnar won in 2002. King Booker.
King Booker was pushed huge, won the world title. 2008, Regal was the general manager of Raw and won the Intercontinental title.
And he was actually in line for a WWE Championship match until he got caught with steroids.
Right. 2010, Sheamus was pushed to the moon and won a bunch too.
Yeah.
I think.
Who was King of the Ring after Sheamus?
Nobody.
Oh, was Barrett.
Barrett's the most recent King of the Ring after Sheamus.
I thought they had a tournament in between that. Maybe I'm nuts.
No, it went on a 5-year hiatus for some reason.
Huh. Well, I bet Bad News Barrett wishes it was longer.
Right? Seriously, Wade Barrett just became the jobber to the stars. He became the afterthought of the Stardust Stephen Amell feud.
The guy's a 5-time Intercontinental Champion. Do something with him.
He's a leader of arguably the biggest faction to come into the company in the last 10 years.
Yeah, only to be buried in 2 months.
Well, that's all thanks to Super Cena, but we all know how that goes.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not friends with John or anything. I'm just saying it is what it is.
I hope the audience doesn't mind me eating bread during the show, but it's our show, so who cares?
It's our show. That's right. I'm just waiting on it. We're having shepherd's pie tonight. So.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. And it's cool enough for California weather. We can have shepherd's pie out of the oven. So not as cold as back there, I'm sure, but still chilly for us.
Nah, it's about 40-some degrees, but they don't care about that. They want to hear about the wrestling. They want to hear about how cold it is here.
All right. Well, in the last match of the first round, no surprise that Kevin Owens defeated Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil has not been near a singles push since about 2013. So,
even then he really wasn't.
That's true. He was still just now turning on Darren, and then he got back with Darren. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Titus.
Yeah, primetime players never should have broken up in the first place, in my opinion.
No, they shouldn't have, and they should be tag team champions to this day. The fact that I think New Day beat them. I know you and I disagree on New Day, and we'll talk about that.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a planned part of the show, but we can insert that somewhere to have our little debate.
We'll do that. That's fine.
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, we're not done.
Right.
We're not done with the tournament yet, but if we want to keep this.
We'll do New Day next because I want to save Undertaker for last, so we'll do that next. Okay. Sure. So tonight or tomorrow night on Raw, we're gonna have Roman Cesaro, Alberto Kalisto, Owens and Neville, and Ziggler and Ambrose. For me, I see I'm not sure about the quarterfinals yet, but I definitely see a final of Roman and Dean on Sunday.
I do too, and you know what? That's the best case scenario in my opinion.
And honestly, I think that we're going to see a fulfilling of the prophecy as far as Triple H is going to get Roman over to the dark side,
or Triple H is going to get Ambrose to the dark side.
Yeah, one of them is going to turn. And Aaron and I will talk about more of that when we film on Tuesday, as far as the overall pay-per-view predictions. But with the tournament, I think Roman's going to beat Cesaro, and he'll face Alberto in the next round because Kalisto won't get by Alberto. I think Alberto's going to win that match.
Right.
I think that Ambrose will win thanks to Tyler Breeze costing Ziggler, which we talked about.
Right.
And then so it'll be Ambrose, and I think Owens will make it to the next round because they've had a little bit of a snippet between Owens and Ambrose kind of leading up to this.
Before the tournament started, Ambrose and Owens were actually supposed to go after the Intercontinental title.
Right. So if they have them face off on Monday in a pretty solid, or at Survivor Series, in a pretty solid blow-off match of the feud, or at least leading up to an Intercontinental match after Survivor Series, once Dean probably loses the tournament, we'll see how that goes. But I think it'll be good to see Owens and Ambrose on Sunday, and then Roman and Alberto on Sunday.
Right.
Leading to the finals.
I'm going to make my bold prediction before those matches happen, and I'm going to say Ambrose wins it all.
Okay. I'm going to disagree and say Roman wins it all, but it's going to be for the same reason, because of Triple H and the Authority.
Right. I can't imagine either one of them going over clean and then being like, oh, we're still buddies.
Yeah, there's just no way, because it's been building toward this since forever. You know, it's been building toward these two and Seth. Unfortunately, he's out of the equation now, but it's been building toward those three since the breakup. So
a Shield triple threat match is bound to happen at some point.
I think once Seth gets healthy, whoever's champion, which is probably one of those two by then anyway, I think whoever's champion by then, Seth will go, excuse me.
Yeah. SummerSlam next year, I'm predicting Shield triple threat.
There you go. Which means you guys go back east, you can drive to Brooklyn and go see it for yourself.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I can't, but, have fun.
Will do.
All right. So there's that. Let's talk about the New Day thing, because people have been harping on me for my intense dislike of the gimmick and the intense dislike of the transformation of Kofi Kingston.
New Day rocks.
No.
Day rocks. Yes, and I will do it until the show ends, because I absolutely am entertained beyond belief by all three of the New Day.
Okay.
I love Xavier Woods, who, quite frankly, I thought Xavier, when the group initially started, was kind of a throwaway. He took a backseat to Kofi and Big E. But he has really come into his own with this gimmick, and he's just as entertaining as the other two. And Kofi, people have been begging Kofi to turn heel for years just to see how he would do. And it's gold. It is absolute gold. And Big E is just hysterical every time he comes out, and they're good in the ring. The New Day is the perfect package, and some would argue, and I might argue myself, that they are the main reason to watch Monday Night Raw.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, for me, my whole thing, I had a long talk with I believe Jen about this actually.
Yeah, you probably talked to her about it.
I probably did. Just the fact that I wanted the Kofi heel turn so bad. Not so much for Dylan, because Dylan absolutely adores Kofi Kingston. I didn't want him to be this dark character for Dylan's sake, but I did want to see a darker, more vicious side of Kofi, kind of like we almost saw when he was feuding with Randy Orton back a few years ago.
Right, and that was a good time for Kofi also.
It was, and for him to, and granted, I will admit they are entertaining. I will admit that. But the complete and utter goofiness of most of it is what turns me off. Big E.
That's what I love.
Oh God, Big E! If he gyrates like a second-rate overweight stripper one more time, I'm gonna throw up.
Come on, he's more sexual chocolate than Mark Henry, and you know it.
That I will grant you. I will grant you that much. Okay, he is sexier than Mark Henry. That's very true. Okay, but Woods, the problem I have with Woods is he's been put into this position as the mouthpiece for the New Day more than the other two after being a complete TNA reject and NXT afterthought for the better part of the last 2 or 3 years. Now, is it wrong of me to think that people can't grow, people can't be better than what they've initially been given as a spot in the company? It is wrong of me, and I fully admit that. But my whole beef with the New Day is the complete and utter goofiness transformation of Kofi Kingston. If Kofi and the rest of them could be as vicious and aggressive as they were when they took out Cena and Ziggler and half of the babyface roster that night, if they could do that every single night, then I would be okay with it. But the fact that they're being positioned more as goofy, more entertaining than effective is what bothers me.
Yeah, and I disagree with that. I mean, they're entertaining, but like you said, they have that serious side. And how often is it that what some people would call a mid-card stable and mid-card tag team closes out Raw, standing on top and saying, hey, look, we're standing tall, it's the end of Raw, boom, see you next week. There aren't many mid-card tag teams that would be like that unless it was like an upset of some kind. I mean, when DiBiase and Cody Rhodes beat Batista and Cena for the tag team titles, which why Cena and Batista were tag team champions for a week made no sense to me.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
But, I mean, they didn't stand tall. Cena and Batista beat the crap out of them. It's like, oh, well, they did just beat the crap out of the tag team champions because their feud's more important. But here you have the tag team champions, an entertaining group of guys, and they're standing tall walking out of Raw. I enjoy that. And I think it could lead to bigger things for the New Day.
If it leads to bigger things, especially for Kofi down the road, then I will sit on this show or on Talk Wrestling or on the show with Aaron, and I will renounce my dislike. But for now, it just seems like it's too goofy to be turned around into something better. So for now, I'm going to just stand tall and be an asshole about this.
That was probably our most heated debate that we've ever had.
Probably, and we don't get heated very often.
Like, obviously, this is just the second episode, but we talk all the time, and I don't think we've ever had this heated of a debate.
No, and had you been there for the Facebook conversation between your wife and I, you'd probably been mad at me for a week because I was very upset.
Well, she's probably mad at you for other reasons, but not for this show.
Not for this show.
I'll tell you later.
Okay, that's okay. So there's that. Okay, now. I'm wearing the shirt. It's an old shirt, as you can tell, because it's 16-0 on it. But this is the only Undertaker shirt I have that still fits me, and I wanted to talk about The Undertaker because next weekend, to the day, marks his 20th anniversary with WWF, WWE, and he and I share a WWFE anniversary because I started watching the World Wrestling Federation in the lead-up to the Survivor Series that year, 1990. So when I talk about the first memories of Undertaker watching wrestling and being involved with wrestling, my first memory is the first time I ever saw him. It was, I'll never forget, DiBiase coming out there, and for weeks, it was in the magazine who the mystery partner was going to be. We didn't know. It was a complete unknown, and I didn't watch WCW, so I didn't know me, Mark Callis, even left WCW at the time. I didn't know who that was. I didn't know what WCW was. So for him to come out there, this tall, this over tall, huge mountain of a man with that idiot brother Love with him, which kind of bugged me. Even at 7 years old, it still bugged me. But for Undertaker to come out there and just dominate most of that match spoke volumes, even to this 7-year-old boy that this is somebody that's going to be dominant for a very long time. And here we sit 25 years later.
Yeah. And, looking back at that match, because obviously I didn't see it live, but looking back at that match and seeing how easy it was for Undertaker to dispose of Koko Beware and Neidhart and Bret Hart and Dusty Rhodes even, it was just incredible to watch because it's like, okay, wow, this guy is kicking ass and taking names. It's like he's not messing around. And the gimmick wasn't really understood at the time, like what he was, like this unstoppable force. And people have tried that since The Undertaker and haven't pulled it off as well as he did.
Right. I mean, yeah, he went through Koko Beware very easily. He beat Neidhart. Then he beat Dusty, which was huge. He was the team captain of the team. And then only got counted out because he went after Dusty for Roger Brother Love. And Bret was the survivor of that team until DiBiase beat him to move on to the grand finale. So for him to go through 3 of the 4 team members with relative ease was something that you could tell that the WWF higher-ups were going, okay, we're going to get behind this guy. And a year later, literally almost a year to the day, because it was Thanksgiving that year, 1990, Thanksgiving Eve the following year, he becomes WWF champion over Hulk Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that one sucked because I was a true blue 8-year-old Hulkamaniac, and my hero got tombstone on a chair thanks to Ric Flair's shenanigans, and he was no longer champion for 6 days. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, and that Survivor Series match was way, way better than their Tuesday in Texas match. I mean, Texas match was kind of sloppy, and I don't want to say it buried The Undertaker, but it was such a weak way to lose the championship. I mean, even for Hogan, it was kind of, it's like, really? It's like, here's how you stop this unstoppable force. You throw powder in his eyes and schoolboy him, and that's it? It's like...
Yeah, that was awful. Yeah, for him, less than a year into the gimmick, for the ashes to be removed from the urn already and thrown into the guy's face, it was like, oh, boy. You watch it now, you go, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
But back then, you're like, yay, Hulk won the belt back. Woo!
Until Tunney stripped him of the title.
Because Tunney sucks. God rest his soul, but he sucks. Anyway, you and I both had the pleasure at different venues of seeing The Undertaker live.
Yes.
For me, I've seen him a couple times. I saw him as the biker, mainly in 2001, 2002. And then I saw the Dead Man for the very first time. Believe it or not, the first time I ever saw the Dead Man live was WrestleMania 24.
I actually never got to see the Biker Taker live.
Mm-hmm.
I did get to see Undertaker live at a couple house shows, but also at the 1995 SummerSlam, where he faced Kama Mustafa in a casket.
Ah, okay.
So that was kind of fun to see.
Yeah, I bet. Casket matches are usually interesting, so. Yeah.
And then I got to see him live. Actually, I got to see him live a couple times after, like in 2009, 2010. I went to, 2007, 2009, and 2012. Armageddon in the triple threat against Edge and Batista.
Okay.
The Fatal 4-Way at, what was that pay-per-view's name? Bragging Rights.
Oh, okay.
Him against Batista, Mysterio, and Punk, where Batista turned heel after.
Right.
And this one is the craziest one to me, and it's probably my favorite Undertaker memory. Him and Triple H in the Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 28.
I am so jealous you saw that match up close.
I know. Hey, you had a chance.
Yeah, I did.
And the craziest part about that was, I mean, it was an outdoor arena, Miami Dolphins Stadium. An outdoor arena, and I swear to you, Undertaker's music hit instantly 10 degrees colder. I have no idea how.
I said the same thing in Orlando. Like, Dad and I were sitting there in the cheap seats, and he came out, and the whole stadium literally dropped like 15 degrees.
I don't get... Indoors, I could maybe able to understand because they could like turn on air conditioner or something. Outside, I have no idea.
Yeah, it is very much the aura of the Undertaker. It's very much the the way that his presence makes everybody around you and yourself feel when he's coming down the aisle to kick somebody's butt in the ring. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been witness to some great Undertaker matches live. I've obviously seen some great ones on pay-per-view. And it's hard to believe, 25 years the Undertaker has been in the WWE.
Well, I was going to ask you, besides the one you saw live,
yeah.
What's your favorite streak match?
Besides the one I saw live.
Right. Because we've each seen one live.
Yes. I would have to say, and this is, of course, me being biased towards HBK, WrestleMania 25.
I would agree with that because I saw Edge, you saw Triple H Hell in a Cell, but we both have talked many times about that Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 25 match and just how there has not been before or been a match since at WrestleMania, let alone Undertaker Shawn Michaels, but at WrestleMania period, that even comes close to touching that. You can talk Steamboat Savage, you can talk TLC matches and all the great stuff in between.
A match between Bret
and Shawn Michaels, but for those two on that night, on what was arguably one of the not so good WrestleManias overall.
No, that and the Hardy Boys match were the only two highlights, in my opinion.
Yeah. And even the Hardy Boys match was kind of like it was a letdown at the end. Like, oh, Jeff lost. Okay. So for that, but Undertaker Shawn Michaels really captured the world's attention, and people still make lists to this day about the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, and that is nearly at the top almost every time. So for me, for you, Greg, what is his enduring legacy 25 years later? What do you look back on and think about the most you think of The Undertaker, besides the streak? The streak is an obvious answer, but
right, the streak is obvious. Just how quickly he was able to captivate the audience as the Undertaker gimmick. I mean, you look back at 1990, and it was almost instantaneous that the crowd connected with him and saw him as a big deal. And not many people can be a main event player for a long time in the WWE. I mean, obviously we've seen Cena, but I think Undertaker surpasses how good Cena is in the main event picture because Undertaker's been there for 25 years.
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny. I mentioned the Undertaker Hulk Hogan match in 1991, and when you look back and really examine that match, the unedited video that's still around in some circles, he got a lot of cheers.
Mm-hmm. He did.
And he was facing the immortal Hulk Hogan, the standard bearer of the company for the last 10 years, and people were like, you know what, we kind of like this guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy, but we kind of like him.
And that was probably the start of people starting to boo Hogan because...
It was.
And you know what? We'll have to discuss booing Hogan when we get to our Royal Rumble episode because 92, I have stories.
All right, sounds good. I look forward to it. Yeah, for me, with the Undertaker, just, you know, like I said, he and I share an anniversary with the WWF. So for me, it's cliche to say kindred spirit, but very much so. I mean, he's my dad's favorite wrestler of all time now. He surpassed Macho Man for my dad years ago, and we got to go see him live at a WrestleMania together. He and I, my dad and I. So for me, Undertaker is just as much about a family connection as is about anything else that he's done in wrestling, because Undertaker has really brought my dad and I together and has really been the enduring character in WWE history, more so than Austin or Hogan or Austin or The Rock or, Cena, any of those guys. You know, for me, it really comes down to The Undertaker is because Vince said in 2009 when they inducted Austin that he was the greatest WWE superstar of all time, and I kind of went, hello.
Yeah. I mean, and I get that because Austin was a giant draw, but
right.
Greatest WWE superstar of all time. I mean, again, I'd be biased towards Shawn Michaels, but
right.
If I didn't choose Shawn Michaels, I'd choose The Undertaker.
Exactly. So there you are. That's what we have to say on this edition of Coast to Coast. We hope you all enjoyed the last ramblings of the past hour. Thank you all
Yeah.
for watching.
Did
As
we
you
go
do,
even longer than last time?
I think we did.
Wow, that's
Which
impressive.
is good. So we'll just keep on going with these. We'll shoot for a Royal Rumble time frame for the next one because that's Greg's favorite show of the year.
Absolutely.
So Greg's been to a couple of them, so it's all good.
Yes, I was at the one where we got to boo Batista out of the building, so that was fun.
That's always fun because Batista. All right, well, Greg, thank you for monitoring this as you always do with Coast to Coast. Thank you so much, and we will see everybody next time on Coast to Coast Wrestling.
See you guys next time.